We're almost certain most, if not all of you watching this will know of Oris. They offer practical, well-made, stylish watches that have an appreciation for the old school. And if you were to ask someone to name a watch from the brand, the 65 Diver and the Aquis will probably be among the first mentioned. The brand has a huge following and dominates the £1,000 to £3,000 price point. So it's quite confusing then that one of these leading brands has a relatively unloved, unspoken about model. And we just can't work out why. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that although the name suggests it, the Oris Chronoris isn't actually a chronograph. There is a chronograph version of the watch which is naturally more expensive, but this time-only model is more for those who are captivated by the model's design. You can still time events by using the inner rotating bezel though, so there is some usability there. An easy place to start with a modern day Chronoris is the heritage. As we know, this watch has some genuine history behind it, which is why it is honestly presented and clear for all to see. The case is 39mm wide with a lug-to-lug distance of 43mm. And, as with all good watches, the closed caseback disappears into the wrist, meaning the 12.4mm thickness feels more like sub 10mm out in the wild. Dimensions that translate well to the wrist are always appreciated, as we see here. This comfortable, compact watch positions itself in quite the sweet spot, with enough of a presence to hold its own. It's crisp, refined, and just simply a complete product. A change from the expected though comes in the form of two crowns on the watch. The top crown is a non-screw down one for operating the time and the date. Everything is what you'd expect here, minus the 2 o'clock position, which is quite uncommon in the industry. The second crown is screw down this time, which operates the inner rotating bezel. This is where Oris as a brand really excels. The dial on the Chronoris is split into sections, all set up to bring your eye into the dial further and give that perception of depth. The loom is generous, considering loom could be regarded as a non-essential on this watch. And at the heart of the watch is the Oris 733 movement, which is essentially the Sellita SW200. 28,800 vibrations per hour, 26 joules, and 38 hours of power reserve is to be expected. To be fair, it's a textbook Oris move, using a tried and tested movement that won't let you down. The Chronoris arrived on a solid metal bracelet, which is a well-built piece of kit, but the watch spent more time with us on some different straps. A friendly reminder though, as this watch comes with 19mm lugs, so be sure to stock up on some odd size straps. What can we say about grey leather straps that we haven't really said already? If you don't want to go the brown or black route, grey straps are a solid halfway house between the two, and the Tillington leather has it all. Comfortable padding, quick release spring bars, an appealing combination of stitching types, and of course that distressed finish. Next, let's get this watch looking sporty with a good old-fashioned Nato. Here we've opted to keep it purposeful and distinctive with a simple black 141 Nato. This look is timeless for a reason, as it makes those orange details really pop. Last but not least is an option that really hits home how much a strap can change the look of a watch. Here the Besford in chestnut brings out those gilt-coloured details and somehow manages to make this quite sporty watch almost look quite dressy. It also helps that this is one of my personal favourite straps for its looks and comfort. A real winner all round. So who is the Chronoris for? It seems this watch is aimed at people who get their kicks from vintage style watches. There is of course a connection to motorsports with this model, but that vintage side of the Chronoris is a stronger selling point than that. Other motorsports watches get that message across in a more succinct way. There's no getting around the fact that you need to have an appreciation for more quirky designs if you're really into things from the 70s. It was an era heavily influenced by bright colours, textures and disco style. Just look at other watches released in the 70s and you'll get a really good idea of this. The Oris Chronoris has a tonneau case that is very much of the era, whereas other watches from Oris have introduced the vintage aesthetic in a way that only really requires a small appreciation for vintage. Models such as the 65 Diver, the Pointed 8 and the Aquis have been able to capture the charm of vintage in a way that is conventional and approachable on the wrist. vintage watch enthusiasts have received their hit from the rest of the Oris lineup already. It feels more and more that the Chronoris is a victim of its own brand success in other ranges. The proportions, form factor, and overall quality of this watch is everything you'd expect from a watch with Oris on the dial. Just know that this watch does require the wearer to have a deeper appreciation for the unconventional. So this is the part of the review where we normally go over a few things we'd change. And there are a few on this watch. However, you'll have to go over to the WatchGecko online magazine if you're interested in that. We'll leave a link in the description below. Simply put, the Chronoris deserves more attention. The quality of the watch and the concept is there, with genuine history to back it up. It feels like all the puzzle pieces are there, they just need putting in the right place. Maybe the biggest drawback of this watch is that it requires reviews like this to get the message across. First impressions are important, and many will dismiss this watch right away because of the tonneau K-shape and the look that comes from those unconventional crowns. But this funky, alternative watch comes from a brand you can't help but enjoy. It's as characterful, well made and downright cool as any diver that leaves the same factory. Let's hope the Chronoris can share the limelight one day soon. We'd like to thank Oris for sending this watch in for review, and if you'd like to find out more, we'll leave a link to both our review and their website in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.